This video was sponsored by Ultimate Guard, but even long before this channel was sponsored by Ultimate Guard, they were always my #1 choice when it comes to sleeves or deck boxes. Pick up Ultimate Guard products at your local game store or order them on Amazon. Link down below. Welcome once again to Commander by Danon. Today we continue our series upgrading the pre-constructed commander decks from Bloomburrow. As I'm sure you saw from the thumbnail and video title, today we'll be looking at Family Matters, the Jeskai deck. Also, and I know it's annoying to keep hearing this, but statistically if I don't ask you to like and subscribe, the video gets fewer subscribers. Family Matters is led by Zinnia Valley's Voice, a 3-mana 3/3 legendary bird bard with flying. Zinnia Valley's Voice gets +X/+0, where X is the number of other creatures we control with base power 1. Additionally, Zinnia makes it so that creature spells we cast have Offspring 2. Offspring is a new mechanic from Bloomburrow that allows creatures to create 1/1 token copies of themselves if we pay the Offspring cost as we cast the spell. The core of this deck is a go-wide deck with lots of fun and powerful creatures. I really like what this deck is doing, but it does need some tuning. Remember, in order to build a functional commander deck, you need lots of different pieces, which is why I try to rely on my handy-dandy checklist. 50 mana sources, usually split between 37 lands and 13 pieces of ramp, 10 pieces of card advantage, 8 to 10 pieces of spot removal, 2 to 3 board wipes, 2 pieces of graveyard hate, and 1 sudden I win card. This deck was close, but we were a bit light on ramp, a bit heavy on board wipes, especially being a go-wide creature deck, and a bit light on interaction. Oh, and we have a ton of card advantage, including lots of graveyard recursion. So we're going to cut a couple of board wipes and some lands to make some room. Not a ton of cuts in this deck, but every card we cut will end up in a second deck. Oh, one more issue with this deck. There are no islands. Non-basic land hate is a thing, so we'll want to make sure we have room for at least a couple of islands in this deck. Oh, one more quick announcement before we get started. I am going to be streaming again soon on Musings by Danon as well as Twitch. It'll mostly be Final Fantasy XIV, but you're more than welcome to pop in and talk about Commander. Honestly, about half my streams are spent talking about manga, anime, or Commander. The first card I wanted to discuss cutting is the other new legendary creature, Arthur, Marigold Knight. I love this card. It's like a more fair version of Kalia, and I love Kalia. He'll be leading the other deck, so we'll cut him for Kaith, Famed Mechanist. This card supports our plan much better, and I felt it fits the theme of this deck. Now, since we know our other deck is going to be led by Arthur, some of the other cuts I'll be making will make sense. Siege Gang Commander doesn't really fit in this deck. Yes, we could make lots of tokens with him, but I wanted to add a couple of flicker effects in the deck. Not to make this deck a full-on flicker deck, but we've got a ton of good enter the battlefield effects, so I wanted to include Ghostly Flicker. That's also why Pull from Tomorrow, a great magic card in a deck that can generate a ton of mana, but not as good in this deck, will be replaced with Ephemerate. Time Wipe and Aetherize, both very good board wipes, but we already have 5 in the deck, will get replaced with Spot Removal. We'll be adding Commit Memory, which doubles as both Spot Removal and Graveyard Hate, and a Braid. I love running a Braid, mostly to take out annoying artifacts, but with so many people running small commanders these days, it works just as well as creature removal. Helm of the Host is a powerful magic card, but I think it fits better with Arthur, so we'll be replacing it with Impact Tremors, a card that goes great with this deck's go-wide strategy. Next up, I know we talked about the deck having too much card advantage already, but I wanted at least one tutor, so we'll be swapping Selfless Spirit out for Recruiter of the Guard. Inferno Titan works better in a deck where you can repeatedly use him, so he's getting replaced with Scavenger Grounds, giving us our second piece of Graveyard Hate. We'll be cutting 2 plains for 2 islands. Again, we want basics for all of our colors as a defense against non-basic land hate. Finally, we're cutting all 3 Thriving lands for the 3 Talismans. This deck was very light on ramp, and the Talismans are wonderful magic cards. Now that we have our deck list, let's compare it to our checklist. 50 mana sources split between 36 lands and 14 pieces of ramp, right on target. 16 pieces of card advantage split between card draw, graveyard recursion, and a tutor. 10 pieces of interaction. 3 board wipes. 2 pieces of graveyard hate in Commit Memory and Scavenger Grounds. 1 Sudden I Win card in Jazal Goldmane. Remember, we're a go-wide deck. Our deck generates a ton of tokens, and each creature we cast has offspring, which means we can double up our non-legendary creatures. Also, and people seem to forget this, you can pay Jazal Goldmane's ability multiple times per turn. And now that we have a bit more ramp, it's likely that around turn 8 or so, we can have a board full of creatures, pop Jazal twice, and swing out for a win. Okay, now that we've updated the original, we get to create something new using the pieces we cut. A new deck led by Arthur Marigold Knight. He's a 5-mana 4/5 legendary Mouse Knight with haste. Whenever he and at least one other creature attack, look at the top 6 cards of our library. We may put a creature card from among them onto the battlefield tapped and attacking, then put the rest of the cards on the bottom of our library in a random order. We then return that creature to its owner's hand at the end of combat. Okay, so just like Kalia, we want to avoid creatures with attack triggers and focus on creatures with end of the battlefield or combat triggers. Some attack triggers are fine, and some creatures have both, like the Titans. When a creature is put onto the battlefield tapped and attacking, any attack triggers it has are skipped. But we can always cast it the old-fashioned way, and we'll get to during our second main phase. Or maybe we can just get a creature with a great enters trigger and put it back on top of our library over and over again. If only Magic had ways to put cards from our hand back on top of our library. Our lands consist of Command Tower, Exotic Orchard, Mystic Monastery, Sulphur Falls, Clifftop Retreat, Glacial Fortress, Cascade Bluffs, Rugged Prairie, Prairie Stream, Shivan Reef, Frostboil Snarl, Fury Calm Snarl, Port Town, Thriving Heath, Thriving Isle, Thriving Bluff, Scavenger Grounds, Evolving Wilds, Terramorphic Expanse, 6 Islands, 6 Mountains, and 6 Plains. Pretty straightforward in budget. Our ramp package consists of Sol Ring, Arcane Signet, Izzet Signet, Boros Signet, Azorius Signet, Felwar Stone, Mind Stone, Talisman of Creativity, Talisman of Conviction, Talisman of Progress, Thrawn Dynamo, Solemn Simulacrum, Descent into Avernus, Knight of the White Orchid, and Peregrine Drake. I went a bit aggressive on the mana ramp because we've got some bigger creatures in the deck. For card advantage, we're running Pull from Tomorrow, Dowerport Mage, Muldrifter, Scroll Rack, Jace the Mind Sculptor, Karmic Guide, Archaeomancer, Brainstorm, Cavalier of Gales, Brain Surge, Windfall, and Cloudblazer. Lots of ways to manipulate the top of our library, as well as some additional card advantage. For interaction and spot removal, we've got Counterspell, Swords to Plowshares, Abrade, Negate, Commit Memory, Lorn of the Third Path, Meteor Golem, Agent of Treachery, Boros Charm, Chaos Warp, Generous Gift, and Angel of the Ruins. The idea of getting to cast Angel of the Ruins twice in the same turn fills me with wicked, wicked joy. For board wipes, we're running Aetherize and Time Wipe, both pulled from the original deck. The core of our deck consists of Siege Gang Commander, Inferno Titan, Brago King Eternal, Restoration Angel, Metamai the Ageless, Portraiser, Eowyn Fearless Knight, Trumpeting Carnosaur, Arnie Metalbrow, Combustible Gearhulk, Aurelia the Warleader, Aragorn King of Gondor, and Skyline Despot. I really love the Monarch mechanic, and I think it works great in this deck. Supporting our plan, we've also got Selfless Spirit, Helm of the Host, Spark Double, Dawn's Truce, Eerie Interlude, Semester's End, Displace, and Panharmonicon. Now that we have our deck list, let's compare it to our checklist. 52 mana sources split between 37 lands and 15 pieces of ramp. A little heavy, but our deck has a lot of high mana value spells, so it's fine. 12 pieces of card advantage, 12 pieces of interaction, 2 board wipes, 2 pieces of graveyard hate in Commit Memory and Scavenger Grounds, 1 Sudden I Win card in Brago King Eternal. Okay, so to understand this, you need to understand how combat works. Combat step begins, declare attackers, declare blockers, damage phase, end combat. There is a step after damage is dealt. So our creatures that Arthur has cheated into play are still on the battlefield, but will go to our hand at the end of combat. However, when Brago deals damage, any creature we flicker with him doesn't go back to our hand. Instead, it re-enters the battlefield as a new instance of that creature and stays. There are lots of fun little combos like that in the deck. For example, Archaeomancer, Displace, and Peregrine Drake generate us infinite mana. But we're not running any tutors. I built this deck to be synergistic in nature. Cards supporting cards. Portraiser with Brago goes infinite, as does Aurelia with Brago. Of course, Jace the Mind Sculptor as well as Scroll Rack really help our deck more than anything. Nothing is worse than drawing a Meteor Golem and not having the mana to cast it and equip Helm of the Host on our commander. But if we have either Scroll Rack or Jace the Mind Sculptor on board, we can easily fix that problem. Are you picking up a copy of Family Matters? What's your plan with the deck? Leave a comment below. Thanks for tuning in. Once again, a huge shout out to my editor Cutestuff. I couldn't make these videos without her. If you'd like to hire her to edit your own videos, she can be reached at cutestuff.edits@gmail.com. Link is down below. If you're looking for ways to support the channel directly, you can head on over to patreon.com/Danon. You can have a video made or just ask for help building or tuning a deck list. I also wanted to give a quick shout out to all of my patrons. Waffles, Jiraiya, Danny, Muffins, Marcus, Brett, Roxy, Sean, Mark, Borgie, Nazwin, Midge, Alex, Conga, Aaron, Chris, Robert, Austin, William Pye, Turner, Triz, Kazaris, Slack, and Dan. You guys are awesome. I post new Commander Deck videos every weekday, so be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified of new videos. Again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all again next time on Commander by Danon.